Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. My name is Maxine. I have Avoidant Personality Disorder and ADHD, and that's what we talk about here. And today I want to talk about building confidence and self-esteem when you have Avoidant Personality Disorder. From the perspective of somebody who is just now coming to terms with the fact that this is probably the only way to get better. So I'm just now sort of realizing and accepting this reality, and I'm not a therapist or an expert, but I think I've developed a really solid understanding of this topic, and I feel very, very called to talk about it because based on the comments that I see here on YouTube and also the posts in the r/AvPD subreddit, I know that many of us at some point or another in our journey has felt like the only way to get better is to build confidence, but that the only way to build confidence is to have that bestowed upon us by other people, by being more liked, basically. And I just simply no longer think that that is true. I don't think that's true. I don't think that it is I think it could maybe alleviate some of the loneliness that you feel, but it's not going to lead to true sustainable self-esteem in the long run. So I'm just gonna get into it. I finally took notes because I've tried filming this a bunch of times and was just all over the place. But yeah, so first off, I want to talk about why you should listen to what I have to say about this, because I feel like a lot of people, especially ones that perceive themselves to be automatically or inherently less desirable than me, are going to see me talking about this and think like, well, you can't understand what it's like to be as ugly as me or something like that. And I think I'm in a perfect position to talk about this because, as some of you know, I have been both much bigger and less desirable and much thinner and more desirable in my life. When I was thinner and younger and more conventionally beautiful, I had a lot of people around me that called themselves my friends. And when I was bigger, I had almost no friends. I still have almost no friends. So I've seen the range, both sides of the spectrum. And yes, I was treated better by people when I was more attractive. But I hated myself the same throughout all of those phases. Because those friends that were around me and were being nice to me when I was younger didn't actually know me, because they were only my friends because I was, mirroring them and being the person that I thought they wanted me to be, which worked in that moment. But all that did was reinforce to me that that who I really was not enough. So I do have the perspective to understand both sides, and I'm telling you firsthand that being liked by other people is not enough. So believe me or don't, but that's where I'm coming from. So why do I think that the validation of others is not the secret to building confidence? Number one, there are literally people on this planet that have the audacity to look at Margot Robbie, literal Barbie, and call her mid. Okay? So that's my example, but it's impossible to please everybody. You're never going to be liked by everybody. Nobody is liked by everybody. That's just the way it is. To say that in different words, there will always be people that do not like you. No matter how much you, bend and conform to be this like most desirable version of yourself that you have in your mind, there will be people that reject that. So that's like just kind of something that we have to accept. It's really, really difficult. It's so, so difficult. Whenever I imagine somebody not liking me, it physically hurts. And I don't like to think about it. But that's just the way that it is. And the only way to make that not hurt is to not believe them, okay? And how do you do that? You have to know that they are wrong. You have to become the person that you are proud of, so that you know if somebody thinks you're stupid or whatever it is, that you know that they're wrong because you know that you're smart, okay? So, and, okay, like I said, I'm trying to get through this in like as concise a way as possible. So, outside validation isn't the answer because you're never going to please everybody. There's always going to be people that reject you, that don't like you, even if you're as perfect in your mind as you can imagine. Gaining validation from others through basically just being somebody else, which is what I see a lot on Reddit, is like, I wish I could just be somebody else. And same, I felt that way. I felt that way. But in being somebody else and gaining validation through that, it just reinforces that who you really are is not likable and not good. So that is not going to help your self-esteem. And also in that same realm of like attracting friends who like this false idea of you, the quality of your friendships or your relationships matter so much more than the quantity. Being popular, I feel like people talk pretty openly about this, and again, I think oftentimes it's invalidated because we're just like, well, oh, poor you being popular. But popular people often say they're very lonely because just because they have a lot of friends doesn't mean that anybody really knows who they are inside. And I think that is the type of connection that we're all looking for, right? We're not looking for people to just tell us that we're cute or whatever. Like, we want somebody to know us and to love us, to know the worst parts of us and to love us. So the quality of friendships matters so much more than the quantity. So if it's not through just getting people to like us, then how can we become confident? Well, the good news is that it is within your control. I so strongly believe at this point in my life that it has absolutely nothing to do with others, and it has only to do with ourselves. And it looks similar, but it's different, okay? So, number one is, I think, remove as many people from your life as possible that make you feel more insecure. This seems obvious, but it might not be, because this includes people that maybe are giving you the validation that you want, but at the expense of your authentic self. This includes people, like for me, for example, I've had friendships in my life where, they maybe knew parts of who I was, but it's very, very hard for me and for a lot of us, I think, to be like fully transparent with somebody. So this person was like a casual friend and they sort of knew me, and we got along and all of that, but they were very openly judgmental towards certain types of people that maybe were more similar to me than they might have realized. And so even though I got along with this person and they were really nice to me, knowing and seeing how they judged other people made me feel less comfortable being myself around them. And that's the type of relationship that you need to cut out if you're going to focus on being the best version of yourself that you can be. And then, of course, people that are outwardly rude or mean to you. Now, I understand you can't always do that. There are places that we are obligated to go and people that we're obligated to be around sometimes. But just any relationship that is within your control, if it is not serving you, then remove yourself. And yeah, I know it might sound counterproductive at first to basically have less friends, but like, if they're not good for you, then it's only making you worse, I promise. Number 2 is to find people, or, think of a few people that you really look up to, either close relationships in your life, or if you don't have a lot of those, then just characters on, in TV shows, people that you look at and you're like, wow, I wish that I was like them. Not because they're popular, but because they're like, you think that they're a cool person, okay? They don't have to be popular. This is very important. You have to separate what other people like and are drawn to from what you like and are drawn to. So, an example to clarify that concept is that the most socially desirable physical body type is like very fit, maybe. Like, that's what I think is most popular. People really love people that like have a really consistent workout routine and are really fit and they eat really clean and whatever. That is like great for them, but that doesn't really like do anything for me. I've never been really that interested in extreme fitness. And every time I did, it's because I thought like other people will like me if I'm super fit. Like, that's what's popular. Like, that's what I need to do to be liked. But maybe you are interested in fitness and maybe that is something that you look up to. But like for me personally, that doesn't do anything for me. In terms of health, I really look up to people that prioritize balance and prioritize mobility and like physical capability over like the aesthetics of fitness. I just really admire when people are able to moderate and enjoy food and like look at food as a social and like emotional experience, but also prioritize their health and like longevity. Okay, so that's the difference. It doesn't have to be somebody who's super popular, but who are people that you think are cool? That's what you have to decide. What do you like? You have to be the person that you like. And for most of us, we have a different perspective than the general population. So we probably admire different qualities in people. But that's the next step, is that these people that you admire what is it about them? What is it about them that you admire? So my sister is my best friend in the entire world. And her and I are very similar in many, many ways. But we have some differences. We have different lived experiences, and there are some differences. And she's my little sister, but I look up to her. And lately, she's also got ADHD, and she's been really motivated to find ways to accommodate her ADHD. And I really admire that. She's also the warmest person. When you meet her, she's just like the most accepting, just like the least judgmental person. And I love that about her, and I look up to her for that. Again, like the food stuff, there are things, you have to write a list of what are qualities about these people that I admire. And then that's what you have to strive to be. If you're striving to be the type of person that other people will like, you're never going to be happy. It's really that simple. And it's impossible because it's not sustainable. You can't, it's not a good enough motivation. And I know that because, again, I've lived that. I've pressured myself for years and years and years straight. I mean, since I was a small child, to lose weight. If only I could lose weight, people would like me. If only I could lose weight, people would like me. And guess what? The mental stress of that had the opposite effect. I for most of my life, just got bigger and bigger and bigger. Despite having the constant desire to not be. And yeah, and so you might be thinking, well, okay, so I push everybody out of my life and then I focus on myself, but then that doesn't make me any less lonely. Well, the key here is that if you can become the person that you like and that you are proud of, then you will have the confidence to go out into the world and attract the people, not the most people, not everybody, but the people that will actually matter to you, the people that are similar enough to who you really are, that they will understand you and they will appreciate you for being those things. I mean, me kind of forcing myself and white knuckling through having enough confidence, just faking having enough confidence to come on the internet and say, I'm a 30-year-old loser that is dependent on substances and unemployed and, like, this is who I am. That has attracted a group of people that are seeing me for who I actually am, flaws and all, and appreciating that vulnerability out of me. Like, that alone, the fact that you're here watching this and thanking me for posting these videos is proof enough that there are people out there that will appreciate you for who you really are. But that's the barrier between that you where you are now and that happening is this low self-esteem that is keeping you from even like entertaining that possibility. Does that make sense? Like, I say it in every video, every single video. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy. It's a paradox. Like, well, I can't be liked, or I can't have confidence until I'm liked, and I can't be liked until I have confidence. You can have confidence first, and then you will be liked. Like, I truly believe that to be true. And I think it is within our control. And I think sometimes it's hard to hear. We wish that somebody could just come into our lives and love us so much that we are healed. And maybe some people are lucky and that's what happens to them, but I think it's a lot more sustainable to become the people that we can be proud of and just try to tune out everybody else until we can get to that point. And that's kind of what I'm trying to do right now. So what am I doing? Number one, I quit weed. It's not that I necessarily look up to people that are sober or that I look down on people that aren't, but I do look up to people that are able to recognize when something is really holding them back and they're able to say, like, it's just not good for me, I need to do something else. And I have known for a long, long time that my dependence was holding me back. And so that was like the first obvious step. Second thing is that since the pandemic, it's sort of been a gradual decline. But I've really developed some like agoraphobic tendencies. I would not say full-blown agoraphobia because I am able to go out when I have to. But it's difficult and I avoid it and I don't like it and it makes me uncomfortable. But I really admire people that are like super independent. That's something I've always struggled with. But I love seeing independent women that love like doing stuff out in the world by themselves or just have no trouble getting out and about. And I think, again, me being trapped in this house all the time is holding me back. So I'm starting to challenge myself to leave the house more often, which ties into number 3, which is I feel a lot of shame about my DoorDash habit. The money that I spend on that is not sustainable. It's not good. And of course, I admire people that I just don't admire myself, basically, for this habit. I feel a lot of shame around it, and I know it's really bad. And every time I do it, it's a hit to my self-esteem directly. So I'm lucky enough to have a grocery store a couple of blocks from my house. And to get me out of the house more and to break my DoorDash habit, every time I have the urge to do that, I'm going to the grocery store and spending the $20 on like a whole day's worth of food instead of just a single meal. And then so that I have to go through the process of getting dressed, getting in my car, driving. I mean, it only takes 10 minutes, the whole trip, but like I have to go through the whole process, the interaction with the cashier and all of that. And I've done that for about a week or so. I haven't had any DoorDash, which shouldn't be an accomplishment, but for me it is. Yeah. And then the final thing that I'm really working on right now is that I feel a lot of shame and for this habit and admire people that are able to just take care of themselves as an adult, right? Household stuff and like hygiene. That hygiene is the first thing to go for a lot of us when we're depressed. And that's definitely true for me. But I feel worse about myself when my house and my body are not clean. So I've started, I've got like an app that is like a to-do list app where you can schedule things, recurring things. So every morning I have a list of things that I need to accomplish that day, and I just try to knock it out like as quickly as I can. And guess what? I feel better about myself every time that I check something off that list. It doesn't have to be Everest right at the beginning. Like you want to start small so that you don't get discouraged. But at the end of the day, your life is in your hands. I mean, how many years have I wasted waiting for somebody to save me from myself, basically, you know, and that's not going to happen. Eventually you just have to decide to take responsibility for the state of your life, even if it's not your fault that you got here. So yeah, I mean, that's where I'm at. That's how I'm feeling. I hope that this inspired somebody. If you take one thing away from this video, it's that the opinions of others, which includes the thoughts in your head, which are not you. I need to stress that so much. Like, you have to be able to separate yourself from your inner monologue, because those are other people's voices, really. And none of that matters. It feels like it's the only thing that matters, so I know it's hard to hear, but it actually does not matter. If you can be somebody that you are proud of, which is fully within your control, then you will attract the right people and you will feel happy and fulfilled. Like, I believe that to be true. And hopefully over the course of however the next year or whatever, hopefully I can prove that to you. Hopefully I can be that example. So thank you for watching. Let me know what you're going to be doing to build your confidence, to give me more ideas. And until next time, goodbye.